Next we have Rajiv Malhotra, an Indian-American public intellectual and philanthropist. He works full-time with the Infinity Foundation, a non-profit organization in Princeton, New Jersey, which he founded in 1995 with his own funds to foster harmony among the diverse cultures of the world. He is a very strong supporter of the Tibetan cause and has contributed immensely to the Tibet Fund. Please welcome Rajiv Malhotra.
I'm so happy to be here, and I thank you for inviting me. I'd like to express some ideas on why Free Tibet is important for people all over, and not just Tibetan people. Why it's very important for people in India also. Very important. If you look at the geopolitical location and significance of Tibet, the significance for China is very, very big to keep control of Tibet, because through Tibet they have built a railroad and highway and gas pipeline, oil pipeline to reach the Indian Ocean. They built two of them. One of them goes through Pakistan to the Indian Ocean, and one of them goes through Myanmar to the Indian Ocean, both sides of India. And these are very strategic because they bring oil and gas to China, which is a shorter route than going around the whole of Malaysia and Southeast Asia. They save about 3,000 kilometers by taking this kind of a route. It's also very important for them to export their industrial goods using this type of highway. So economically, the location of Tibet is what makes this possible for China. Otherwise it would not be possible for China to be able to access the Indian Ocean so quickly. Also, through Tibet, the access China has to the oil and gas in the Caspian Sea and in the Central Asia, and also protection of the western provinces of China, which would be disconnected if Tibet were not there. So China has a lot of political reasons, military reasons, economic reasons for Tibet being very important to control. But from India's point of view, it is a major issue, major disaster, major catastrophe to allow this to happen. Because by allowing this to happen, what has resulted is that China has a lot of influence on the neighborhood of India, both through Myanmar and through Pakistan. A lot of influence and a lot of control over the future destiny of India. Now, there is a state of India called Arunachal Pradesh, which is a part of India for a long time. But China considers it to be a part of Tibet and hence part of China. And the border, the India-Tibet border in Arunachal Pradesh has not been agreed to by China, even though they keep saying they would like to agree, but they don't. So this has created a situation where a very large amount of Indian military have to be deployed on the border, which costs a lot of money and a lot of tension. And if Tibet were free and Tibet were neutral and demilitarized, it would also reduce the military spending that India has, and the reduction of military spending could be used for humanitarian purposes to help people in India. So a huge number of billions of dollars every year could be saved if China were not occupying Tibet, because then a free Tibet would be a friendly Tibet and there would not be need for so much military presence over there. The other factor which Indians have to be worrying about is that the river Brahmaputra, which starts in Tibet and goes through Arunachal Pradesh into India, it carries about 40% of all the fresh water of all the rivers in India. 40% of all the water in India is in one river which goes through that place. So a Chinese control of Arunachal Pradesh would also give them the ability to redirect that water towards China and deny the whole water source in India. So this is a very serious issue, and I am here to basically say that the Indian government made a mistake, in my opinion, when they accepted China's sovereignty over Tibet. And the Indian government should reverse that stand, change that stand, and there are not only geopolitical reasons for doing that, but the moral reasons for doing that. The moral reasons are, China claims that historically Tibet was part of China, but actually the script of Tibetan is Sanskrit-based script and not Mandarin-based script. Also, the Tibetan Buddhism is very much linked with Indian Buddhism and not Chinese Buddhism. In fact, in the 8th century, there was a Chinese attempt to claim that Tibetan Buddhism should be replaced with Chinese Buddhism. And there was a person who was sent by China to Tibet to make the claim that the Chinese Buddhism philosophy was actually the correct philosophy and the Tibetan Buddhism philosophy was not the correct philosophy. So the king in Tibet at the time, he sent for a Buddhist expert from India to come and debate. And there was a monastery in Tibet in the 8th century where the Buddhist scholar from India came, and the Chinese scholar of Buddhism and the Indian scholar, it was decided that they will have a debate. And it was also decided that the person who wins the debate, it will be accepted by the person who loses, and the person who loses will convert to the point of view of the winner. So this debate is a recorded part of history, and in this debate, the Chinese scholar accepted defeat in that debate. And so the idea that Tibet is ideologically or culturally part of China is something which was debated in the 8th century, and that idea was already lost in the 8th century by the Chinese side. So this claim that is made all the time is actually a completely not valid claim that Tibet should be part of China for civilizational reasons. And in Indian history and in Indian philosophy, both Mount Kailash, which is in Tibet, is considered the home of Shiva, and Mansarovar, the lake which is nearby, is a very sacred lake. Tibet is a very sacred land to Hindus and Buddhists all over India. So India and Tibet have a very long and very old civilizational bond. And so I feel that India also has a moral duty to be the guardian of Tibetan civilization's integrity. So I would, in closing, what I would like to say is that the Indian government should make two changes of policy. First should be that because the Chinese have refused to accept the border between India and Tibet, they do not agree with the border, and they want to claim a large state of India to be part of their control. Because they don't accept this, therefore India's previous policy of saying okay, China can take over Tibet and control it has to be voided and reversed. Because legally you cannot give somebody control of something which is not even properly defined. If the boundary is not defined, then how can you say that they have something which you don't even agree with them what the boundary is? So the boundary being ambiguous is actually a legal argument which can be used to say that Tibet is unsettled and disputed territory, and we do not accept the fact that we do not accept the Chinese claim that they control Tibet because it is disputed and we'd like to negotiate it. So India can reopen the negotiation with China on that basis, over the status of Tibet. The second change in policy which I think the Indian government should make is that I'm told that in the 1960s, when His Holiness Dalai Lama came to India, there was some agreement between Nehru, the Indian Prime Minister at the time, and His Holiness, and it was done under Chinese pressure, and an agreement which I don't think has ever been made public, but there was an agreement that the Tibetans will not engage in political activity on Indian soil. There was an agreement like that. I think the Indian government should say that we revoke that agreement and we allow political activity on Indian soil. And certainly, since a large number of Tibetans are born in India, they are Indian citizens by birth, and they have all the constitutional rights of every Indian citizen, and they should be able to organize their own political activity and take part in politics. I think this item should be pressed because there is a very strong intellectual and democratic argument that the Tibetans in India should have all the political rights, and there is no reason why India should not be a center for a large amount of noise and voice and discourse and summits and conferences about Free Tibet. India should have a whole lot of such activities about the future of Tibet, and this should be allowed and encouraged. I would also recommend that His Holiness should reach some kind of an agreement with the Indian government whereby he accepts that a free autonomous Tibet should enjoy a kind of protection from the Indian government, and not just Tibetan people in India but the whole of Tibet should enjoy protection from the Indian government, and have some kind of an agreement of this sort which could then be used to negotiate more actively and more aggressively and assertively with the Chinese. And I feel that the US should encourage that. The US has not played enough role, and the US has a lot to lose by allowing China to get strong and expand and use Tibet as a base to take over more countries in the south. And the US is worried about that, but the US has not formulated a very clear policy which says that in fact, the most important thing that the US should do with India in terms of diplomatic negotiations is that the US and India should jointly have a more active policy for freeing up Tibet. So I would like to conclude by saying that I support what you are trying to achieve, not only for the future of the Tibetan people, but also for people in India and people in the whole region. Namaste.